One of the biggest mistakes I see people making all the time is that if they just buy this one more book, they just learn this one more thing, then they're gonna have everything they need to be happy in their life. That's not how it works. That's not what it is. You don't need another book. My name is Tasha Skillen, and I help productivity and personal development junkies move out of never-ending to-do lists and sleepless nights into actually getting it all done and having plenty of time to play, rest, and fulfill your purpose, all guilt-free. If you haven't already subscribed, hit the subscribe button now, and then don't forget to tap that bell to make sure you are the first to know when another video drops. Most of us have grown up learning that the more you work, the harder you work, the longer hours you work, the more successful you're gonna be, and eventually you will be able to get it all done. The reality is, if you are an overachiever, a perfectionist, a people pleaser, that is going to just lead to more of the same things that are making you feel crazy right now. You don't need another book about productivity. You don't need another podcast about how to be getting more done in your day-to-day life. What you really need is to realize that what you're doing may not be aligned with where you want to be. And in order to do that, you have to know where you want to go. And most of us don't have the time, or have not created the time, don't have the awareness or the step-by-step knowledge on how to create that vision of what we want to become and who we want to be when we're living our best life. That's not what we were taught. That is not what the generations behind us passed down to us, because they were mostly in survival mode. But we have the opportunity now to shift out of survival mode into a lifetime of creating purpose and meaningful impact because of the advantages we have from their lessons that they've passed on to us and the current circumstances that we have as far as technology and reaching out and connecting to each other. So I would like to propose to you that you stop trying to find another book, another podcast, another person to teach you another system to implement into your business life or your personal life. What you really need instead is to get clarity on what the things are that you need to be doing to actually align those actions, those day-to-day practices, those activities that keep you so busy all day with becoming and living the life that you want to live. If you've read more than 1 to 2 books on productivity, you've got the gist of what needs to get done. You know what needs to get done. So reading more about that, listening more to another person explain the same system but in a different way and with different words is not going to create the change that you're looking for, that you're craving by investing all that time and energy into listening and absorbing all that information. And it's because you're skipping over the part of the book, or it doesn't even include it in that part of the book, that you have to align what it is you're doing with the vision of who you want to become and the kind of life that you want to be living. If it was about tightening up your scheduling or going on a shopping spree for all the organizational tools during back to school season, you'd have it down by now, right? It's not helping, and here's why. You have to get really honest with yourself in this moment. You have to be really truly honest with what it is that you're doing and what it is that you're thinking. Okay, have you been called a control freak? Do you believe and practice the saying, if you want it done right, you've got to do it yourself? I lived there for most of my life, and childhood and as an adult. This mode of moving through life is a result of a couple things. Responding and reactionary mode is a result of lack of planning and proactive anticipation of what's going to be happening next. Real life scenarios happening in your real life aren't happening on a schedule. Things happen, other people's lives take detours, and that actually hijacks part of your day. So planning for that is essential. This habit of reacting and responding to the influx of information and pings and notifications and texts that you get throughout the day has our brain chemistry all jacked up. And the relationship that we have with these tools that are available to us is usually in an unhealthy boundary situation. Not knowing what the end goal is creating problems for your actual busy day-to-day schedule. Many of us grew up in survival mode. Money was tight, work was tight, family relationships were tense, lots of different scenarios that most of us have experienced at some level. And if you experience a long period of stress in your life, a lot of the habits that you developed during that period, you may be still conducting in your day-to-day life. Those habits of survival mode and being on call and constantly looking around, waiting for the next scenario, waiting for the next shoe to drop, is a product of prolonged stress in your life, whether it was during childhood or more recently as an adult. When you are in survival mode, you and your primitive part of your brain are focused on making it through minute to minute, as it should be, not thinking about what is going to be needed or necessary in a couple weeks or a couple months or a couple years. So you have to acknowledge that you're in survival mode now, whether you need to be or if you're just acting like you are. If you're living in survival mode by choice, then you have to make the commitment to move out of that mode and start replacing those survival habits with more intentional activities that are going to actually allow you to move forward and make the transition into an intentional life built on practices that are pointed toward you becoming and you creating this life that you want. It's taking imperfect action on a regular basis and turning it into a practice to learn and establish the ideas and the visualization of what it is that you want to actually become. Some of the problem is that you don't even know where you want to go, and so you just stay busy in survival mode where you are. And although that can feel comfortable and it feels like you're being productive in the moment, and if you just keep on reading more of those books and learn more about how to systemize things, it's going to feel better. The reality is that you're not going to be getting any closer to fulfilling your purpose or having a meaningful impact like you are craving from the inside to have. It's only when you have a clear vision of the person you want to be and the kind of life that you want to create that you can create an effective to-do list on a daily basis. That creates a proactive approach to life where you're being intentional and you're being purposeful and you are actually creating your life as opposed to responding to what everyone else is creating in their lives, which is usually chaos and more looking like a circus. Then you aren't running around like a chicken with its head cut off and you start to feel like you. That may not be a familiar feeling right away, but you may find pieces of you kind of bubble up from a long time ago that were there and waiting for you to show up and acknowledge that that part of you had been covered up by all these to-dos and all this reactionary responding activities. You'll start to feel like you're in the flow of being fulfilled and in your purpose, and you'll start getting signs and cues that will allow you to be more excited and start taking inspired action rather than response and reactionary action. So let me ask you, do you want to keep doing this to yourself? Do you want to keep buying books and listening to podcasts and pressuring yourself to do more, be more, and show up more? Or would you like to actually take a step back and relax and allow your body and your mind to be in flow with who you're supposed to be, the original self, the part of you who is there and has been there since you were born, and stop responding and reacting to the chaos that is happening around you? Do you want to have that calm sensation? Do you want to be able to pursue your passion and your purpose without any guilt, without feeling like you're letting anybody down? Or do you want to regret the time that you lost by chasing your tail and running around trying to make sure all the to-dos are done when it's not actually allowing you to feel fulfilled and have a meaningful impact on the ways and in the ways that you want to? It's all about getting clear on where you're going and what you want. And you can't do that if you're constantly responding to the things that are happening around you. So you have a choice. You can keep focusing on getting things done and responding and reacting. You can keep focusing on reading more productivity books on what it is to be in efficiency mode without a clear vision of what you're trying to be efficient for. Or you can take a step back and start uncovering the parts of you that have been put on to cover up the fact that you don't know who you actually are supposed to be. It's your choice, and you get to decide every single day how you show up in your life. It doesn't feel like a choice when we're in survival mode, so it's gonna take some time and some practice on digging this up. Like, why am I actually doing this? How did I learn that this was a thing you're supposed to do? Is this something that actually I wanna do? Is this something I feel obligated to do? There are a lot of questions you can start asking yourself to get clear about the choices that you make from the time you wake up until the time you go to bed. But it is in your control. You have full power on how your day-to-day life feels and what you're doing with that time and how you're using those very precious moments that we'll never get back to create the life that you are then going to look back on. Are you going to be proud? Are you going to be feeling accomplished? Are you going to feel inspired by the actions you chose? Are you going to be able to say, I got all my things checked off my list that day? Or are you going to be wondering if you missed some opportunities to really enjoy life rather than just crossing off items on a to-do list? I think we both know what needs to happen. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you like this video, and don't forget to download the 7 Phrases to Quit to live your best life. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next time.